Hey, it's Daryl from Pacific Energy. In my previous video, we talked about how to install, configure, and use the Tesla app to monitor your solar PV system and Powerwall battery. I put a link to that video in the description below. In this episode, I'm going to talk about what happens when there is a grid outage and review what you should do to make sure that your batteries last until power is restored. So let's dive in. When the grid power fails, your phone should notify you that the power is out. If it doesn't, please watch the previous video to learn how to turn on notifications. I recommend that every Tesla Powerwall owner to simulate a power outage at least once to prepare and practice. To simulate a power outage, simply turn off your main breaker. To turn off your main breaker, go to your meter panel. It will look similar to this. Lift up the cover and you will find your main breaker. Push the lever to the off position. Don't do this during a time when the house is drawing a lot of power. Do it when the loads are light, preferably when your house is drawing less than 3 kilowatts, if you can help it. The Tesla gateway will automatically disconnect you from the grid, and this allows you to operate in off-grid mode. So when the grid is down and you open your Tesla app, the first thing you will notice is that there will be an X over the grid icon and an orange line around the screen. Your solar will also shut down for about 5 minutes. Once the 5 minutes has passed, it should return as long as it's daytime and the clouds aren't super dark. Then the app will look something like this, with the solar now producing power. The Tesla gateway will check the grid once every 5 minutes to see if power has returned and reconnect your house automatically when the power has stabilized. Now here's the important part, so pay attention. Your backup power system will not allow you to do all the things you did while you were connected to the grid. You need to conserve power and not draw more power than what your Powerwalls can provide. Each Powerwall can provide up to 5 kilowatts of continuous power and no more than 13.5 kilowatt hours if they were fully charged. So if you have 2 Powerwalls, you can draw up to 10 kilowatts at one time and 27 kilowatt hours before needing sunlight to recharge the batteries. Kilowatt hours is the amount of energy you can draw over time. 27 kilowatt hours is the ability to draw 1 kilowatt for 27 hours or 2 kilowatts for 13.5 hours continually. The more Powerwalls you have, the less you have to think about conserving power in the event of an outage. Here's what not to do when the power is out, unless of course you have a lot of Powerwalls. Don't use the oven until power is restored. Don't use the range, at least at night, unless it's gas. Don't dry your clothes in the dryer, at least at night. If you have a pool, don't run your pool pumps at night. Don't run the air conditioning, and don't run your hot water heater at night. And don't charge your electric car at night either. However, if it's daytime and there's plenty of solar power and your state of charge is almost full, you can use the range and turn the hot water heater back on, unless of course it's an instant hot water heater, in which case you should keep it off until the power is restored. If you have at least 2 Powerwalls, you could dry your clothes during the day as well. You can even charge your electric car, but you will need to modify your car's charging settings so that it doesn't draw full power. In a Tesla, I would recommend a 15 amp maximum charging rate per Powerwall. So if you have 2 Powerwalls, set it to 30 amp maximum charge rate maximum. This is important to know if you want to keep your refrigerator, garage door, outlets, and lights operating during the grid outage. If you try to draw more power than what your Powerwalls are rated for, they will quit and retry every couple of minutes. This will cause every appliance in your house to keep resetting until you lower your house draw to lessen the combined ratings of your Powerwalls. The best way to prevent this from happening is to go into your house's electrical subpanel and simply turn off every circuit breaker that is rated for more than 30 amps. To make doubly sure, you can turn off every single breaker over 20 amps, which would be my recommendation if you have a single Powerwall system. Now, during the day, if you have 2 Powerwalls and a large 10 plus kilowatt PV system, you could draw over 10 kilowatts because you also have the PV power. So if your solar PV is generating over 5 kilowatts, then you could potentially draw up to 15 kilowatts at one time. At night, you really need to watch your power consumption and make sure your power draw won't lead you to running out of battery power before sunrise. If your Powerwalls were mostly full before sunset, you should try to keep your power draw at or below 1 kilowatt per Powerwall. So if you have 3 Powerwalls, you should try not to draw more than 3 kilowatts continuously. Now, of course, you can draw more than that for a short period. You just want to keep your average down to as low as possible. Now, with most other battery backup solutions, you have a dedicated backup load center, and you really don't need to think about it much. But the downside of those other battery systems is you can only power the items in your backup load center. If you want to boil water with the range and that circuit is not in the backup load center, you just can't do it. But the Tesla Gateway allows you to pick and choose what circuits you want to run in off-grid mode. This is good because you can change your backup circuits depending on your battery level and whether it is day or night. This is a more flexible situation to be in and can be a real game changer for extended outages. The downside is you have to become hyper aware of your power usage, especially if you have a single Powerwall. Most outages in Hawaii are just random reasons. But sometimes they happen because of bad weather, such as tropical depressions and hurricanes. Here in Hawaii, we usually get multiple hurricane threats every year. Power outages caused by these weather events are more severe and require a much more cautious approach to power usage. You should assume that you may not see sunlight for several days and slow your power draw down to a trickle if the grid goes down. The bigger the storm, the longer you should assume you'll be without power, depending on the CAT rating. Fortunately, Hawaii's last hurricane, Hurricane Douglas, ended up being a kitten, and a few areas had power outages, and the areas that did had power restored very quickly. If you liked my video, please click on the thumbs up icon, or better yet, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on the next video.